Good morning. You're welcome to Lagoonradio, your number one online gospel radio broadcasting from Marina, Lagos State, Nigeria. If you check your time, it's 37 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. here in our Lagos studio. And today is the 30th day in the month of March. We are officially saying good. Did I just say March? Yeah, in the month of June. Yeah, so we're officially saying.
Have your birthday twice.
My dear. Officially saying goodbye to June in a matter of hours. Okay, yes, you're welcome to the newspaper review, a show where we give you the headlines on major newspapers here in Nigeria. If you haven't downloaded the Lagoon Radio app, please do so. You can download the app from your Google Play Store or Apple Store, depending on the device that you're using. You can also listen via our website, that is www.lagoonradio.ng. And don't forget to follow us on social media. Right now, we are live on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. On Facebook, it's Lagoon Radio Nigeria. So you just search and you're going to find us and you're going to be able to watch us live at the moment. You can also watch us live via YouTube channel, which is at LagoonTV. So go check that out. Also follow us on Instagram at lagoonradio.ng. Yes, these are all the mediums and platforms with which you can connect with us. Yes. Okay, my name is Nena Abigail Mba, but you can call me Ibu Abi, and I have with me in the studio today Shabiolekbe Taiwo Adiola, aka DJ Shab, and I also have with me Smidele Oke, aka Yayad.
I like that.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How was your night?
Oh, just okay. Thank God.
Okay, I hope your night was better than mine, though.
It's obvious.
Okay.
I can tell.
All right, yes, we're going to be looking at some newspapers. The newspapers we have today are People's Daily. We have These Day newspaper. We have the Blueprint newspaper. We have the New Telegraph. We have Nigerian Tribune. We have the Leadership newspaper, Daily Trust, Business Day, and News Direct. And in no particular order, we are going to be starting off with the People's Daily newspaper. Okay, so at the top there, you can see Malam Wada Maida, 1950 to 2020, founding chairman, board of People's Media Limited. Okay, so that's kudos to him. Media space promoting fake news APC against APC government. Governors are saying. So the governors are saying that media space is promoting fake news against the APC government. This can be found on page 15 of the People's Daily. I don't know what the fake news they are referring to could be, but if you want to find out, you're going to have to check out the papers for yourself. And I'm still on the People's Daily. IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu arrested. Trial for July 26th. Federal government has already set the date for his trial, and the rider under that is remanded under DSS custody. This can be found on page 5 of the People's Daily newspaper. Okay, just a side note on this Nnamdi Kanu's arrest. We need to also first of all remember that in case somebody is out there wondering or feeling like, oh, they arrested the IPOB leader, no, please don't take it personal yet. First of all, he jumped bail. If you remember the last time he was in court, he actually literally ran away before fulfilling his bail. Yeah, the bail terms, and then he has been, enjoying freedom of speech and all of that. So we don't know what's going to happen, but we're keeping our fingers crossed and we're going to see how this unfolds. Like I said, the trial has been set for July 26th. Okay, still on the People's Daily, Governor Matawale finally defects to APC. Yari assures total support. Yes, it seems all the governors are defecting again. This can be found on page 2 of the People's Daily. Also, CVR, INEC received 42,211 online applications 24 hours after takeoff. This can be found on page 5. I think this is a good one. Yes, the voters registration is currently ongoing, and you can register online. Just visit the INEC website. Like they said, they already received 42,000 plus registrations. This is a good sign. For me, I feel like this means people are willing and ready. If they could get this number of people to register within 24 hours, this was just yesterday that it was announced, and people are already registering. So please, if you haven't registered,
be done before the the actual time of closure.
Yeah. So if you haven't registered, if you haven't gotten your PVC, if you have not gotten your CVR, please register. Don't sit at home and say the government is bad if you're not doing anything to change it. Okay, still on the People's Daily, reps summon PPPRA boss over unremitted 1.62 billion naira IGR. That can be found in page 3 of the People's Daily. Polio, over 60,000 children immunized in Kanu local government. That can be found on page 8. And Niger government sacks 758 workers over fraud and misconduct. You can read more about that on page 6 of the People's Daily newspaper. Moving on.
All right, moving on to this day newspaper. At the very top of that, we have an NPC to borrow $3.8 billion to acquire Dangote refinery shares. And the writer to the story says no petrol price increase in next 2 months. Well, you can continue reading the story on page 10 of the This Day newspaper. Again, federal government shifts deadline for NIN verification to July 26. You can get that story on page 5. And boldly written on the front page is Nnamdi Kanu now to dot in a circle, arrested in Addis Ababa, remanded. And the writer to the story says, tells court why he fled. Okay, you can continue reading the story on page 8. The story is at the front page actually, but you can continue reading on page 8 of this day newspaper. APC's good performance made Matawali defect, says Buhari.
Oh my God, that's a very wonderful revolution. Yeah. Yeah.
Good performances. Well, you don't have to praise yourself, I think.
No, if you don't praise yourself, who will? You know,
to him, he's performing well.
There are definitely areas where the government is where the APC government-led administration is performing well.
There are areas. Government.
Well, I mean, now that see, everything is not 100% horrible. Okay, so they can at least rate themselves a bit, you know.
It's not 100% horrible, right? Like, serious, is that coming from you?
No, I know what I'm saying. They can, like you just said, they can praise themselves. And I'm saying they actually can, okay, because...
Well, they can?
Yes, there are things that you look at and you say this government have done well, even though it's not to our satisfaction, even though there is more to be done, okay? And if they want to give them... If that's what the basis on which they feel Matawale is defecting, fine, but we are going to be here when Matawale will defect back to the PDP.
Yes.
So what are they going to say at that time? So it's not...
We are wait.
Exactly, so...
And the writer to the story says, PDP governor, PDP can still retrieve mandate. Well, the story is there at the front page, but you can continue reading also on page 8 of this day newspaper. And at the bottom of that, we have Senate receives PIB report, begins consideration tomorrow. You can get the story on page 45 of this day newspaper.
Okay, and moving on.
Moving on to Blueprint. At the front page of Blueprint papers, treat Kanu's trial with caution, rule of law. And the writer under that, Malami speaks on his rearrest about 4 years after jumping bail. IPOB warns court orders detention in DSS facility. Wow. I would have been killed if I didn't escape.
Yes. As 4 years ago, when his case was in court, we actually saw a lot of videos where there was an attack in courts. Okay, there was like physical abuse and all of that. So, yes, the excuse was that he ran for his life. But I mean, now he's been rearrested and
been remanded.
Yeah, that's a whole different story altogether. And a word for IPOB followers. I know this is going to cause some agitation as always, but you have to be wise. Okay, they honestly have to be wise. They don't have to be emotional about this arrest. I still believe in the rule of law of Nigeria, and I know that the law will take its course. Okay, so
Okay, you can get the full story on page 6 of the Blueprint papers. And right on the top of the Blueprint papers, NNPC reveals how federal government will finance stake in Dangote refinery. You can get that on page 21 of the Blueprint papers as Access Bank South Africa foresees success amid tough competition. That's also on page 21 of the Blueprint papers. And right at the bottom of the Blueprint papers, amidst PDP threat, Matawale joins APC, Buhari welcomes governor. And right under that, defection Gill eats Senate. Zamfara lawmaker joins ruling party. Others to follow. We can get that on page 7 of the Blueprint papers. I think as time goes on now, we're going to be having just 2 parties in Nigeria.
We've already said
We said it before. They should just make it okay that we have just 2 parties and let's know where we're heading. If we're facing this side, then we know.
And there's nothing wrong with a 2-party system. America runs a 2-party system.
There's nothing wrong
you're
with
either
it.
voting Democratic Party or you're voting the Republicans. There's no confusion there.
Yeah, personally, I support the 2-party systems because this is just this and this. Because it baffles me when I start seeing a lot of party names. I don't know all the. I don't even know all the parties.
On the day of election, when you get that shit, and you'd be like, those. I mean,
You
all
will see-
these
You will see cock, you see cock, you see maize, you see umbrella, see broom,
Honestly
You
speaking,
see plate
you see ice.
I don't know more than people, the Democratic Party,
and
APC, and AFGA. That's one that has, is it cock or hen?
Yeah,
I don't know more than that.
and cock and end. Everything is foul. Is it foul?
It's a foul.
Family of foul. Okay, and still at the bottom of the Blueprint papers, advancing women equality can add $12 trillion to our GDP. Hey, Omo Agege, you can get that on page 31 of the Blueprint papers. And a 24-year-old man to die by hanging for robbery in Ekiti.
I read the story. I was like, what? Did he kill?
To die by hanging.
Is
Okay,
that not
Kill
extreme
someone?
for the
Did he
crime?
kill someone? No,
Is
he
that-
robbed 3 people from the same family.
Was anybody murdered?
No.
so why should he
didn't
be
kill
murdered?
anyone.
Why should he be
It
murdered?
really got me
Did
thinking.
the courts, was there a judge that passed this judgment?
Yes,
That's extreme.
it's really extreme.
Okay. Now, let's say it's not extreme in their own side, in the court side. That means anyone who embezzles money is stealing. They should all die by hanging.
What's his name now? What's this popular Evans, the kidnapper? His case is in court. I mean, I feel like I don't want to say there was, like I just said before. Let me not contradict myself. I still believe in the rule of law, but
It's really extreme for me. When I
And
read the
rapists
story,
are
I
still
had
going
to,
around.
I had to go back.
rapists are
Okay,
still
then
going around.
if you're giving this person
Wow.
death by hanging sentence, then what would you do to a rapist? What would you do to kidnappers and
That was a fast judgment. I feel
Death by hanging.
24-year-old?
A 24-year-old.
Yeah, the fact that what he did is very wrong, but
the law.
the
What the
judgment,
law
the
is
judgment
supposed to.
that was being passed is
No, the law is supposed to. That's why we have prisons, and in prisons you're supposed to go through. It's now called correctional facilities.
yes.
Exactly.
It's for correctional purposes. So
Yes.
if such a young person goes into vices, the appropriate thing is to send him to a correctional place for a time where you know that his life will really be transformed.
Yes.
Sure.
Not to take that life from him. I mean, do you know the number of people who are committing more hideous crimes and getting
I think
away with
it really needs.
Is
a
it
good,
that the
really
family
needs
was
a-
so
it
influential?
really needs a good lawyer. Even
I
if the
hope they
family, even
appeal.
if the family is influential, I mean, this is.
It really needs a good lawyer
that
to
could
appeal.
Yeah.
I mean, to
Yeah.
appeal once they could do that, then
That's too much.
Because to me, if you can sentence someone to death by hanging for robbing, for a
We're
robbery,
not saying robbery is
it's
allowed,
good,
but
the
that
sentence
judgment
that was
too
passed,
much.
yes,
Yeah.
it's too much.
then the
It's
same
extreme.
sentence should also be, the same judgment should also be passed to anyone who siphons
rapists,
money
to pedophile,
in this
and,
country, and all rapists,
money
everyone. Yes, let them all die by,
Yes.
let them all be sentenced to death by
By
hanging.
hanging.
Then
So-
we'll
so-
know
so-
they're really serious.
So let's imagine that when Hush Puppy was arrested, what they called now, decide that they're just gonna kill him.
Oh,
That,
Considering the amount he has even stolen.
See, so that's not. I was a very hasty. I don't know.
Was it not someone that claimed to faint when they were asking him to account for a particular amount of money?
What I see, that story annoys me. But what even annoys me the most is that the same Pantami has now been selected as part of the committee that will sit for the Twitter, social media, Kinikon. And this is somebody who could not account for the money that was put in his possession, and now he's supposed to come and judge or determine how the country would relate with.
My dear, don't be surprised if he just comes up later and says he wants to contest for a particular position. Okay,
expect anything in this country.
Still on blueprint papers. Hey, Rev'd summon PPPRA boss over unremitted 1.62 billion naira IGR. Then if he cannot remit it, he should also be sentenced to death by hanging. Okay. All right, we move.
Yes, we move on to the New Telegraph newspaper. FX Flam Millers invest 2.16 trillion naira on wheat amid restrictions. That can be found on page 5 of the New Telegraph. Rev'd summon PPPRA boss over unremitted 1.62 billion naira. That can also be found on page 5 of the New Telegraph newspaper. Afenifere to Buhari initiate and transmit restructuring bill to NAS. Okay, they are saying initiate, that is start it, and then forward it to the National Assembly. That can be found on page 5 of the New Telegraph newspaper. Again, federal government shifts NIN SIM leakage deadline to July 26th. Says about 7.3 million Nigerians now have their NIMs. Okay, so that can be found on page 8. Macron inaugurates Finance Nigerian Business Council. That can also be found on page 3 of the New Telegraph newspaper. Anambra non-indigene Edozie Njoku emerges national chairman, gubernatorial candidate of AFGA faction. That can be found on page 6. And then boldly written there, Abari Bay orders lose 300 million naira bail bond as federal government rearrests Kanu. Okay, the rider under that says court remands IPOB leader in DSS custody to continue trial on July 26th. And then how DSS, NIA, Interpol, MET police got him. Sources, if you want to find out that, it's also on page 3 and page 29. Still the rider under that, why his shorties can't recover bail bond. Lawyer is saying. And then 36 years after failed Omar Diko extradition bid, Buhari succeeds with Kanu. All of this can be found on page 3 and page 29 of the New Telegraph newspaper. Defections, pressure mounts on Secondus to resign. The writer under that says, party chair not under pressure. Ologbudion says, after Matawale, two other PDP governors set to join ruling party. And APC intimidating our governors, says PDP. That can be found on page. I don't understand the intimidation, no. But yeah, you can find out on page 4. And investigation, police. Hold on. Investigation has shown that polling could spread COVID-19. So that can be found on page 8. On the New Telegraph newspaper. Polling grain, those are like
what is pollination?
Okay.
All right, quickly, Nigerian Tribune. Ohaneze, ACF, Afenifere groups react as federal government arrest and rearranges Kanu. The writer of the story says how he was arrested, Malami, why I ran away, Kanu. All this can be found on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. At the very side of it, we will borrow to fund 20% stake in Dangote's refinery. This is NNPC. You can get the story on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune.
Okay.
Federal government extends NIN SIM linkage deadline to July 26. You can get that on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune. Super TV CEO mother, please here to contact us on Chidinma Unilag is saying. You can get the story on page 28. It's really sad. 3 killed, 10 injured as gunmen in police uniforms attack Oyo community. And the writer to the story says, "My people living in fear, traditional ruler."
Unknown
Can get this can get this story on page 29 of the Nigerian Tribune. Lastly, I have Kaduna crisis as strike. This time will be total NLC. You can get the story on page 4. And the writer to it says, latest thread by El Rufai, provocative. And that's all on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. At the very top of, we've got some news there as well. Because of our time, I'll pass to
Okay, let's briefly look at Business Day, because after talking politics and talking everything, we need to talk business. We have a case of emergency here where it said that Nigerians needs jobs. Do you need jobs? Okay.
Jobs.
Nigeria needs jobs. Like, I don't get. Is it the same Nigerians that need jobs? Are they the same people you're telling to go start selling kuli and moi? Okay. We can get that on page 30 of the Business Day papers. And Nigeria's power sector needs infrastructure investment model to unlock liquidity. We can get a story on the first page of the Business Day and the continuation on page 30 of Business Day papers. And right inside on page 4, Nigerians bypass Dubai ban, travel through Ghana.
What Nigerians cannot do
does not exist.
So we always find a way. That's just a fact. We always find a way.
Sure.
If they like to close Ghana, from Ghana they will connect to Guinea Republic. Any which way is a way. Oh, wow. Okay, so that's the much we can actually take on the newspaper today. Our time is fast spent, but remember, if you're just joining in and you missed out, you can always watch the live broadcast on our YouTube page at LagoonTV. You can also watch it on Facebook at Lagoonradio Nigeria. Don't forget, download our app, follow us on social media. We love you, we got you. From myself, I will Abi, from Shabiligwe Taiwo Adiola, and from Simidele Oke, we say thank you for being a part of the show. Stay connected. Coming up next is the Moment of Truth with Venerable Henry Adelegon.